Not sure what to wear and not wear on a cruise? This is an updated practical guide with real rules, unspoken etiquette, and some things not to wear to avoid awkward moments both on the cruise ship and in port. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website LifeWellCruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, cruises have become more casual over the last few years. We even have some new cruise lines and dress codes have definitely changed. However, in this video, I am going to share the actual policies and cruise line dress codes, as well as some of the unspoken rules and etiquette to avoid some potentially unpleasant situations both on the cruise ship and in port. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention two important things. Firstly, I'm not the fashion police, so take everything here with a little bit of a grain of salt. And in the end, you do you. And secondly, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, what not to wear on a cruise. Let's talk about two prints to avoid. Now, the first one is camouflage. Now, you might be wondering, why camouflage? Well, it is because in some countries, it's actually illegal to wear camouflage unless you're in the military there. So you definitely do not want to wear that. Now, even on some cruise line websites, they actually do point this out. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't bring camouflage clothing to wear on the cruise ship, but you don't want to wear it in port. You can actually be fined and even arrested. And while I haven't heard of anybody being arrested, there have been cases where people have gotten off the cruise ship and have been told once they're in port that they needed to return to the ship. Anything with an upside down pineapple on it. And honestly, at this point, I would just avoid wearing any type of clothing with pineapples on it in general. Now, if you're not sure what I'm referring to, just Google that, or I'll leave an article in a pinned comment about what upside down pineapples mean on a cruise. And it's definitely a little bit of a lifestyle thing, but if this is not you and not what you're into, it's definitely worth avoiding. Number three, swimwear. Now, I feel like some of these topics are actually going to get me in a little bit of trouble, but I did ask in the LifeWell Cruise Facebook community for other people's opinions as to what not to wear on a cruise. And honestly, there were about 700 different comments and some themes came up a lot. So anyway, no judgment on this, but I do want to share realistically, what to wear and not wear in terms of swimwear. So something that somebody pointed out, and I think this is a really good point, is just know what cruise line you're on. If you're on Disney Cruise Line, for example, it's a pretty family-friendly cruise line. And if you're on Virgin Voyages, honestly, you are going to see some different things. So just keep that in mind. And also styles have changed. So what might have been offensive, 5 or 10 years ago is honestly the style for a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. And if it's not your thing, at least you can people watch. But the more serious part is actually pool wear in terms of wearing a cover-up. So when you leave the pool deck and you go into the buffet or inside the cruise ship, in particular to any of the eating areas, you definitely want to wear a cover-up. And this can be enforced by the crew. Now, in addition to wearing a cover-up, there's kind of a little bit of a best practice that people point out is don't walk into the buffet with like a sopping wet swimsuit dripping all over the floor, and you probably will be turned away. It's potentially embarrassing. Don't do that. And as well, when it comes to footwear, well, you just have to have some on. So you cannot go into the buffet or any of the interior of the cruise ship with bare feet. Now, I have a little bit of a funny story when it comes to pool wear that a maitre d' actually shared with me on a recent cruise. They shared with me that in the evening time that you're not allowed to wear, by the way, any bathing suits into like the main dining room or restaurants. And he let me know that there was a woman that had come in with like a bikini and sort of those mesh style cover-ups to go into the main dining room. And he told me he had to turn her away. And that every cruise, he does have some people who argue with him about that, and he sends them over to guest services, but they're still not allowed in. So just keep in mind that the main dining room, especially in any of those restaurants in the evening time, the dress code is going to be a little bit stricter. Now, I am going to talk about cruise line dress codes, formal night, smart casual night, etc., just a little bit later on in the video. Pajamas, slippers, and bathrobes. So let's start off with the bathrobes. Now, when you go on a cruise, oftentimes you're able to get a bathrobe to be able to use in your cabin. It's one of the things I really like about cruising, actually. And I definitely will wear my bathrobe when I'm out on my balcony and I'm ordering room service breakfast. But it is considered like bad cruise etiquette to wear your bathrobe into any of the restaurants and even into the buffet. Now, sometimes you are going to see it, but truthfully, you're going to get a lot of eyes on you if you do this. And a potentially embarrassing situation that did happen to somebody when they went to the MSC Yacht Club. I had read an article about this a couple of years ago. Is this woman did go with her bathrobe on, and she was told really nicely that she should go back to her cabin and put some clothes on. Now, do let me know your thoughts, by the way, on the bathrobe situation, as well as anything else. Let me know down in the comments below. Now, many people also pointed out that slippers shouldn't be worn outside of your cabin. But the thing, and I think there is a little bit of maybe, let's say, discussion on the pajamas. A lot of people say you should not wear your pajamas outside of your cabin. And personally, that is something, come at me if you want, but I just think pajamas are best off in the cabin or, at a pajama party. Obviously, a themed party is just fine. I make an exception for young children, and some of you may not agree with this, but if you've got teens and they're wearing pajamas late at night to the buffet or something, or picking up pizza, I also think that's okay because, it's kind of a little bit the style now. But I think something to remember is the cruise ship is really nice. And if we want to keep that feeling and that ambiance on a cruise ship, and of course, just like on land, the majority of us wouldn't head out to a restaurant in our pajamas. Well, we probably shouldn't do that on a cruise ship either. Now, by the way, if you're planning a cruise and you want to make sure that you stay organized and do not forget a thing, I do have the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner. Now, the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner is a 47-page downloadable printable cruise planner that will help you to stay organized from the time that you book your cruise all the way through embarkation and disembarkation. Now, it includes cruise packing lists. It includes cruise outfit planning forms, so you can actually plan your outfits from day to day. It includes cruise shore excursion planning forms, budget planning forms, and more. And the best part is that you can print out only the pages that you need for as many cruises as you go on. Now, I'll leave all of the information for the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner down below in the description of this video in case you want to check that out. All right, moving on to something else that a lot of people felt really strongly about, and this is to watch wearing strong colognes and strong perfumes. There are a lot of people that have allergies or just are sensitive to those scents, and we've all been in an elevator with somebody who is really sprayed on a little bit too much. So I guess that's just something to be aware of. Shorts and jeans in the restaurants and main dining rooms. Now, several cruise lines have a rule that men cannot wear shorts in the main dining room. And by the way, it's probably the rule for men and women. But in my experience, if the shorts are nice looking and they're on a woman, oftentimes nothing will be said. But some men have been called out for wearing shorts in the main dining room. Now, there are some cruise lines that are more strict on this than others, even though it's in the official policy. Now, if you really don't want a dress code in the main dining room or restaurants, Virgin Voyages has no dress code at all. So pretty much you can come as you are. And the other one that's pretty casual is Norwegian Cruise Line. Jeans. Now, I know some people will say you should not wear jeans into the main dining room or restaurants, but this has actually changed a few years ago where most cruise lines do, even in their dress code and their policies, allow nice jeans in the dining rooms, even on smart casual nights. Formal nights. So speaking of dress codes, many cruise lines still have formal nights, chic nights, elegant nights. There are different names for this, and these evening dress codes have definitely become less strict over the last few years, but many people still choose to participate. Now, personally, I adjust my formal wear based on which cruise line I am sailing with. So as an example, I'm heading on a Princess cruise shortly, and usually Frank will wear a suit on Princess for formal nights, and I'll wear a little bit of a longer gown or a cocktail dress. And on other cruise lines, I'll wear something that's still a little bit more dressed up, but maybe not as formal. And in Frank's case, he'll often drop the jacket and just wear a pair of dress pants and a nice shirt. Now, honestly, outside of Cunard, which is a much more formal and traditional cruise line, and they do require a jacket for men, The other cruise lines are not really going to police this. And even though you might see opinions in Facebook groups, for instance, in reality, when you're on the cruise ship, nobody actually cares what other people wear. Bring one pair of pants and a collared shirt. Now, this is actually just some practical advice for men, because even on Norwegian Cruise Line, you're going to have some specialty restaurants that do have a little bit of a dress code, and they ask for a collared shirt and pants rather than shorts. And this can be like a golf style shirt, and this can be pants of any sort, oftentimes even just a nice pair of jeans. But I always think that men should pack at least one pair of pants or jeans and a collared shirt just in case. Shoes. Now, speaking of things that you should pack just in case, a pair of closed-toe shoes or running shoes, sneakers. Everybody should pack one of those. There are going to be some activities on cruise ships in ports that are going to require them. And this is especially for kids. If you are cruising with kids, don't only bring sandals and Crocs, even if you think that that's mostly going to wear. You want to make sure that they do have some sneakers just in case, because you don't want them to be left out of certain games and activities. Uncomfortable shoes. Now, I'm speaking to ladies and men for this, but I can tell you, I bought a pair of, oh my goodness, very pretty shoes, but they were so uncomfortable. I brought them on a cruise. I wore them for about 2 hours to dinner, and then right after dinner, I went to my cabin, took them off, and that's honestly the very last time that I have worn that pair of shoes. So before you go on the cruise, make sure that your shoes are comfortable. There's just no point otherwise. Offensive clothing or t-shirts with profanity on them. Now, even cruise lines that don't have strict dress codes actually do have a policy against this, and they can tell you to take this off. Now, I think especially nowadays, it's just good to stay away from any political messages on cruise ships. You know, who wants to get into an argument with other people when they're on vacation? And truthfully, my rule is that you just leave that stuff at home. But in general, you want to make sure that your clothing does not intentionally offend anyone. Now, by the way, for anybody who's saying, hey, it's free speech and you should be able to wear what you want, keep in mind that at many places, including Disney and theme parks, they often have this rule as well. Baseball caps in the dining room and specialty restaurants, especially at night. Now, many cruise lines do actually have this in the dress code. In practice, some people do still wear them. And one thing that I would say is if you do see somebody wearing a baseball cap or, you know, as an example, wearing flip-flops in the dining room, which is also against the rules. And, you know, sometimes people are still going to do this and no one's going to say anything. Just keep in mind that people have their own reasons for doing this. Sometimes people actually have an injury to their foot, and this is why they cannot wear their closed-toed shoe, you know, into the dining room. And other people may have a medical problem, and that's why they're wearing a hat on their head. So I think that we all do have to remember, even though there might be some rules on a cruise and we might want to all follow best practices, that we do want to give people a little bit of grace and put our fashion police badge away. Expensive or flashy jewelry. Now, this has to do specifically with when you get off the cruise ship and you head into a cruise protocol. Honestly, you do not want to attract that kind of attention. And when we were on a recent cruise, we did actually see somebody who had their gold chain ripped right off their neck. You do not want this to happen to you. So make sure that you do leave any expensive or even sentimental jewelry, leave that on the cruise ship in your cabin safe or a secure location. Now, I really do want to hear your thoughts as well as your stories down in the comments below. And I am going to leave the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner link down below in the description of this video in case you do want to check it out. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.